everyone. So yesterday I played the PTQ for Modern. All right, first let's have a look at this. I'm just behind the the camera right now. This was a leak like the I was a 5-2 at this point, I think, and I was playing against Yama Killer, and I thought, okay, maybe let's see if we can get there. Playing against Yama Killer here. I'll try to skip ahead. Hopefully it doesn't crash too much. But first, let's just look at this real quick. I'm not sure I'm playing against Blue Red Prowess, but one thing I noticed throughout this whole tournament is I don't want to ever see two Thrones of Geth in my hand. I think I should always mulligan a hand with two Thrones of Geth because it's basically two deck cards if the opponent is playing an aggressive deck. I really think Throne of Geth is one of these cards that now with so many aggressive decks, so many decks like Titan, so many decks like basically Throne of Geth is at its best when you not only get value from it, but you can deny your opponent some resources. You can proliferate their -1 counters. You can proliferate their bios. You can proliferate poison into them, stuff like this. But if it's only to sacrifice stuff, Throne of Geth feels kind of bad and kind of slow. So I think in the future I will actually go down to one Throne of Geth for a while because I really think like against the biggest issues right now is your prowess, John the Shadow, and Monolith Titan. Those are the decks that are hard to beat for us. The rest we can more or less beat with our main game plan. And having one or two Thrones of Geth will not come up so much. And especially the Drazitron is not a player right now, so I don't think you should be really worried about it. This is so yeah, here I was rounding a bit. So this hand already you can see no one drop. It's kind of a recipe for not the greatest start. And opponent goes Stone 1 Soulscar Mage, which is annoying, and then I said, okay, I need to do something. So I play my worker here. Notice I still don't know I'm playing against your prowess. And I'm here for a second hoping it's burn somehow, like some blue. But it is not burn, it's a prowess. And then just go turn 1, sprite down. So here I'm going to say something that is very important. In this matchup, you want to trade resources. You want to make the matchup about less cards. Why? If you notice, every time, the more creatures they have, every time they cast a spell, the more value they get, right? Let's say they have an opt in hand right now, they will get +2 damage. Or Lavadar, they will get +2 or +4 damage. If they only have one guy, they only get +1 damage, right? So it's very natural that your interest is on them having as few creatures as possible. So because you would rather trade your creatures aggressively, especially your ballistas aggressively for a Sprite Dragon, instead of letting them accumulate a lot of creatures and eventually they will kill you faster, even though you're thinking you're kind of trading. So here what I do is, even though it doesn't feel super great, I use my ballista to ping this guy. And of course it's a risky move because they could have mutagenic growth, but I do believe that if I don't do this, I would have lost the game way quicker. So this is something to keep in mind always. Trade resources when you can. Trade those ballistas for those 1/1s, or trade those ballistas for those Soulscar Mages if you can. Opponent has second Soulscar Mage here, which is quite a beating. And they have they're holding a mana. As you can see, my draw is not very good here. I have these two Throne of Geth which are pretty deck cards, I don't have scales. And you can see this is kind of what happens, in this matchup. If you don't have like a scales or a Nozolith to accumulate value, opponent will just remove your creatures one by one or just attack you to death and do your force to chump block. So I decided to play a Scrapyard because I think, okay, this is and then here when I saw them drawing, I was like, oh, maybe I have a chance, like maybe they just flooded. And Scrapyard can be, something that could maybe anchor us into the game, especially if we find a Nozolith. But opponent goes double Manamorphose into third Soulscar Mage. Which is really, really tough. My opponent is attacking me for 6 and I start to chump with a blocker, with a worker, because the counters will not go to waste. But again, not having the Ozolith means we're not getting any advantage. We're just holding, Dragazul's Fury feels pretty bad. If I had drawn an untap land, I think we would have been in bear shape. But again, here I'm just playing the Hangalak, feeling like this game is a bit kind of about to be over, honestly. My opponent fetches, I have the third Manamorphose, that's a lot of damage, a Lava Dart, and basically at this point, they can flashback the Lava Dart. Oh, now we're gonna load this a bit, and they have also mutagenic growth, so we are being dealt so much damage over here. And they have also on top of this a Bedlam Reveler. So, okay, my opponent's draw was very good, but you notice the theme here was I was playing creatures and I was not getting value out of them. I know my Walking Ballista, I told you to trade down, but the problem is I was trading down, but I was not able to get any value of my own, right? So in the end, my opponent ended up with 3 creatures into the battlefield. That meant that each spell they casted was +1 damage. And on top of that, they were able to just play the Bedlam Reveler on top. And in my side, I'm not threatening anything here. I don't have an Scales, I don't have an Enigma, I don't have an Nozolith. So even if I survive, I'm not building towards anything. So just normally the way you win this matchup is by surviving and building towards a big Inmoth, a big Ballista, a big Hangabag, etc. So here, of course, we lose. And I'll show you now my... Yeah, I mean, there's no need to watch this. I'm sorry this is buffering. I thought it would have been good by now, but I mean, it's faster than normal. So this is what I did here. This is the Cyberpunk for the whole game. I brought in 4 lightning bolts. I got a throne, got both steel overseers, and added the 3 gem razors, and got the... What did I got as well? The animation models. The animation models are not really great in this matchup because they have 8 flyers. And, you know, animation model is, I don't think this is where you want to be. You would rather have the gem razors. And even the scrap dealer combiner just puts a body that can maybe find like a modeler. So this has been my cyber plan for this. This, no lander. And then here I'm like, this hand is almost there. It has scales, it has welding jar, it has scrap dealer combiner, it has this. So I thought, okay, because I would not really keep this on the draw most likely, but on the play, I think this hand has merit. And a 2-drop, of course, makes this hand pretty good, or really good. But especially being on the play, I thought I would have enough time to set up a scrap dealer and then maybe mutate into it, or something like that, having a 7/7 gem razor to pressure my opponent, right? But you can see what ended up happening here. The fact that I didn't have a 2-drop, I ended up getting the Throne of Geth again, which is an awful card for this matchup. They went turn 1 Swift Spear into turn 2 Soulscar Mage, which they, of course, draw on, because you normally want to start with Soulscar Mage if you have both Soulscar Mage and Swift Spear. And then here's the problem, and this is something, basically this made me realize that my hand was actually a bad keep, which means my 5 would not have been better. But if you notice here what's going to happen, this is really brutal. My opponent just Vipers next me, just gains so much tempo, you know. For 1 mana, they deal with my 3 mana. And again, because I didn't have Lightning Bolt, or I didn't have a Ballista to trade with my opponent's creatures. You know, at this point, they just have it all. They basically have, I have not stopped them in any way or form. I have not traded in any way or form. And, you know, now this Ballista is just a little bit too late to the party. I tried to follow my principles and I tried to kill this the Soulscar Mage. I'm not sure if maybe I should try to go for the Stormwing Entity, but I thought that maybe the Soulscar Mage I could kill through a free spell, whereas the Stormwing Entity I couldn't. But to be honest, it doesn't matter because my opponent just deals me like 14 here or something ridiculous. Yeah, they had 7/7 and they had Lava Dart. So here, you know, you can see how you lose this matchup. I know it's not that you lost this matchup plenty of times, but how do you lose this matchup a lot of times is by something like this happening. Your opponent gaining tempo and you basically, you play a creature, they bolt it, you get no value out of it, and they attack you with 2 creatures. You play a creature, they bounce it, they attack you with 3 creatures. That's how you lose this game. So you need to find a way to reduce the cards they have and get value out of the cards they're playing. And definitely Scrap Dealer Combiner is not a great card in this matchup. Definitely Throne of Geth is not a great card in this matchup. But, you know, sometimes you just run out of cards to cut. Alright, so that was the losing game. Let's look into a winning game. Spoilers. So you can see here, off the bat, what is the difference? I didn't know I was against prowess, of course. But my hand has all the enablers in the world and has 1 piece of interaction. And I think this is key, you know, like the ability to... Basically, these 2 cards, Oscillate and Hardened Scales, means that I will get value out of each exchange. Because, you know, any creature that I have will put counters on the Oscillate, and you'll have a double the counter. So eventually, especially with an Inmoth Nexus in hand, I know I will be able to kill my opponent. So here I have Lightning Bolt, which is also great. And my opponent, very crucially, they didn't start with a 1-drop. And of course, that you cannot control. But if they had started with a 1-drop, we would just probably just bolted it. I probably would not have bolted it directly. I would have probably bolted it on their turn to see if they would play like a Stormwing Entity or something. Sometimes what they do is they will go like Manamorphous Stormwing Entity and you want to bolt the Stormwing Entity there. But here instead they went for the Sprite Dragon and I decided to just bolt it right away. And again, beauty of burning the Born, what's it called? Growth of the Born Willows is, I'm still at 20 even though I just cast a red spell, right? So here I'm thinking, okay, even if my opponent bolts my Ravager, I have quite a lot of value here because I can always put the counters on the Inmoths. That would mean they will need double bolt. And if they're using a double bolt to kill my creatures, what does it mean? Well, that means that first they're not playing a creature, or a 2-drop at least. And second is that this is basically they're using those spells before. They're using the spells before they have creatures. And if if they don't have creatures, when they use the spells, their spells are much less useful than when they have like 2 creatures. Compare the situation as if my opponent still had a dude here. And they double bolt, that would be a complete blow up, right? Because I will lose the Ravager, I will lose the Emoth Nexus, and on top of that, my opponent will deal me 3 and have a 3/3 for the next turn. So very important to reduce their numbers, very important to make sure that you plan to get ahead. My opponent very aggressively lava darts me there, which I was like, okay. But yeah, we just take the 2, and that's just fine, you know. We draw a work, and basically, you know, because we play the Ravager aggressively, something I used to not do. I used to always hold my Ravagers until the last possible second. But I think there is a merit in a situation like this when my opponent had 2 lands and nothing in the play, basically to play the Ravager and say, answer this. Because if my opponent doesn't answer this, plays to their, let's say, to their game plan, which is to play a creature and bolt me, then that means that it basically now they're open to the kill, right? So you can see here, you can think about it. How do you win right now through the lava dart? That's the only thing that can happen. I know a lot of you guys may know the answer, but I give yourself 10 seconds if you don't know the answer immediately. I saw this immediately. So give yourself 10 seconds if you haven't seen the answer immediately. How do you win right now, right? And you will see what I mean. You'll see what I mean when I talk about this idea of this idea sorry, well, this idea of setting up, basically, and how you play around the lava is pretty important as well, because this happens a lot, and this even if my opponent didn't have a lava dart, you should do the same thing I'm going to do here, because they could have gotcha, and you don't want to lose to a freaking gotcha, you know. Gotcha feels super bad to lose to. But here, basically, as you know, I put the counters from the worker on the Ingmoth. I will have way more enough counters on the Ravager to press lethal. Now, if the lava dart here, what I can do is I will, maybe for extra safety, or even not, I will just eat my Blinkmoth Nexus. That's why I didn't play Down Reborn. I will eat my Blinkmoth Nexus to make this a 4/4, and then this will be enough counters to win the game anyway. Let's say, even if my opponent, if I didn't have the Blinkmoth Nexus there, I think this also will be lethal, right? Because I will be able to just put 2 counters here that will end up being a 6/6, no, a 7/7, and then will be 4 counters here, which also mean lethal. So in the end, we are gonna win anyway. But this is a cool line to play around Lava Dart that we know about. But you should always do it against prowess, because they play Gotcha, man. And losing to Gotcha really sucks. So you can see here how easily we dominated, because we have the Lightning Bolt, we had interaction, and we had the cards that allowed us to retain value out of our creatures. We're just not jamming creatures and just disappearing, right? We go to a toilet, and I do the same sideboard I had done. Like, I think this was my first time playing, or second time playing Prowess matchup, this tournament. These are not in chronological order, but you see again, look at this hand. What does this hand have? Why does it look like a winning hand? It has interaction, it has ways to get value, so Hardened Scales basically incidentally means that your cards will get more value. Hangover Walker, and even a Wilding Jar to protect, and even a Gem Razor to kind of go over the top or block or whatever. So this hand has everything, but I would clearly mulling. You can realize that you don't need a lot of cards to beat Prowess. You actually just need the good cards. You just need Scales, Bolts, Ozoliths, and something that gives you value. If you have a weak hand, I would always recommend you ship, because you know, cards are normally not the issue in this matchup. The issue is keeping your value. So it's better to have like 1 card less, but have like an Ozolith, than have 1 card more and just let your workers die to lava darts, right? And not get any value from them. So here you'll see my opponent will go to Anastasia Spirit on 1, which is a very good start. And then I decide to go Scales. I decided that, you know, I would rather save this bolt for like a Stormwing Entity or a Dragon. They play nothing, so that makes me feel, okay, this is looking fine. They lava dart me again. They lava dart me very aggressively. So here I decide, so here's what's at play. Again, think about it. Pause the video you want. Think about it. What is the play here? What is the play that gives you the most percentage points? Keeping in mind what my opponent just did, right? Hope you have had time to think about it. But what I did was I played the worker, I played the Wilding Jar, played the worker, and held up Bolt. Again, trying to maximize my value. So I just play Wilding Jar, play the worker, hold up Bolt. Of course, people don't expect Bolt out of the Scales decks. So they just here, they go with a Sprite Dragon, and what I do is I block the Swift Spear, and I tell them, okay, you need to use this Lava Dart. Clearly they miss the land drop, right? So if they don't use the Lava Dart, they lose the Swift Spear. So I want to force them to use the Lava Dart. And then when they have used the lava dart in a bad situation and they also missed a land drop, which maybe this attack was not good by them, they shouldn't have attacked. Then what happens? Then the lava dart, because they know, oh my god, I'm gonna lose my Swiss spear, and then I just bolt the dragon, and then I welding jar my worker. So I have not lost any value. I have traded up on mana, and now I'm in a very good spot. So here, what I should have done most likely is just to play the Kazoo's Fury tapped, but instead I played an untapped land and I wasted the mana. I should have played this tap. But I also thought that maybe I would need a stack out later on. So now my opponent is in one land, you know, basically by applying the principles of training and by applying the principles of hand that retains value, we're in a very, very good spot right now. I think in my opponent will have to have like a miracle to win. And then here what I decide to do is I decide to play the Gem Razor and put the Gem Razor on top of the Worker. And then normally you like to put it on top of the Hangout Walker. But putting it on the Worker has two advantages. First is if the Gem Razor dies, I can still modular onto the Hangout. Whereas if the other way around, if the Worker dies where the Gem Razor is on top of the Hangout, then you can modular onto it. Of course, you could always modular onto the Nexus if you wanted. That is one bad thing. Second bad thing is if they kill in response, I would rather they kill a Worker than the Hangout Walker, right? Because if they kill a Worker, I get to put the 5 counters on the Hangout Walker and I still get the Gem Razor. Whereas the other way around is still fine, but it's not as profitable. Again, we're not retaining as much value because we have an untapped Hangout Walker that we can actually make a 4/4. Whereas we can attack with. Whereas if the other way around, we get a Worker that we cannot graft onto anything, not so much value, not so interesting. So yeah, I basically, that's what I'm talking about with chat. I decided to go for the one on the Worker. But it has only one card in hand, so, and you know, because we have scales, we are not susceptible to that shot. My opponent bursts lightnings my Worker, but that's fine. I get a 5/5 Hangout, and I here decide, okay, my opponent has 3 cards in hand. I have a Kazoo's Fury. Let's be aggressive. So maybe it was fine to keep the Kazoo's Fury in hand. And here my opponent's at 14. I have a 4/4 Trampler and a 5/5 and a Kazoo's Fury. My opponent just packs it in. So that is the most one-sided prowess matchup. Of course, my opponent missed land drop, missed a bit, but the concept, you see how my hands line up, and basically having the lightning bolt, the Ozolist, the Hardened Scales, and never trading down. You could see in the Yama video, I was basically, every creature I was playing was just basically trading badly. I was chumping with a Worker and not getting any value from it. I was having to chump with a Scorpion and not getting any value. And that, of course, that eventually catches on to you and your opponent just kills you. But yeah, but it's still very important in this matchup. I was always trading whenever I could my bolts for the dudes, basically on the side, and always trying to prioritize the flyers over. All right, here we go again with the normal versus prowess. Again, my hand was a pretty good keep. We have double ballista, Throne of Death, which again not so great, but we have specifically the auto. Like I didn't of course know I was playing against prowess. But I think I would have kept this hand even if I knew I was playing against prowess. So here my opponent started seeing Vision Stone 1. I know there's some lists that play Seeing Vision, some lists that play I almost don't play my ballista there. I think, yeah, I didn't decide to play the Throne of Death. Again, same concept I was talking about. If I play my ballista here and it just gets lava darted, it feels pretty bad, right? So instead I play the Throne of Death and I say, okay, if you will order my ballista next turn, then on top of that, I get a 2 counters on the Ozolith, which you used a card and I get 2 counters on the Ozolith. Is a pretty good trade for me. Opponent goes with Stormy Entity, which is pretty rough. But again, better to have if I just play the ballista, it would not make any difference for my next turn, basically, and it would not allow me to, yeah. It basically would not give me any advantage. But I decided, okay, let's play the ballista here. We need to put something into play. We're not just going to play nothing. And let's see what they do. We have Welding Jar to protect it. And play Soulscar Mage, which is a bit scary because that means our plan of putting counters on the Ozol is a bit negated. My opponent has double 1-drop again and a lava dart as well. So opponent has basically everything. At that point, Welding Jar is very, very... Alright, sorry what I was saying. Yeah. Here... we're at least getting some value from the ballista dying to a battle push, sorry, to a lava dart, right? So we are able to, you know, put a counters on the Ozolith, And it's not a lot of value, mind you, because I didn't know they had the Soul Scar Mage when I played it, but what else I was supposed to do, right? And we got rewarded because we draw the Hangovac. We had not done that play, we wouldn't have 2 counters here. And of course, I mean, the game is still hard. The opponent has 3 cards in hand. It's a 16, we have 14, and we're facing 3 creatures. But we could. I decided to. Oh yeah, I remember now what I did here. I decided to play the Ballista and kill this Soul Scar Mage. Just honestly afraid of the possibility that they would. And I said, yeah, exactly. That's what I do. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to kill this Soul Scar Mage now. So hopefully, I can actually play my Hangovac and not have it get -1 counters on. And then here, the key here is that I can do this for like 4 pings, which is a lot, but it's still fine. Bad thing is that I tap my throne, so I'll not be getting value from my Ballista, but I think I already got quite a lot of value out of this Ballista by killing the Soul Scar Mage. Could try to kill the Stormwing Entity, but that would require me 5 pings. So that's not so hot. Somebody followed. That's great. They Lava Darted and I bolt in response, so we keep the Ballista at 2-2, which is kind of nice. So at 3-3, which is really good. Now, opponent has 2 cards in hand, but I don't have 4 cards in hand, but I only have 2 lands. So I mean, I still am in a position where I could easily lose this game. But I kind of like where I am. They have another Soul Scar Mage, which is a bit beating, but it could be that they have nothing else, right? So I think they decide to block here if they attack with the Monastery Swift Spear. They don't attack at all. That's true. I remember that. I mean, like, whoa, bro. I think that's a mistake. So here I'm feeling good on myself. I played Scales. I played these as a red source just to have the bolt later on. Plays as a 2-2. I was thinking of sacking it, maybe putting the counters on the Ballista, but then my opponent had a bolt. They were keeping in hand for some reason. Would be greatly punished. But now here we have ways to block the Storming Entity. So we're definitely not in a rush right now. Now they attack all, which is kind of weird, right? If they like that attack before and they don't attack now, I'm like, okay, if they can kill me with 1 Storming Entity, then I guess they deserve to beat me. And it's maybe a consideration to have sacrificed this guy beforehand. But I was really playing around. So the thing is here's the thing that's important. If I sacrifice the Hangovac, they can bowl the Walking Ballista and I lose it in response. So my idea here was to block and let them do, like give them the priority. And then when they decide to mutagenic growth the Storming Entity, so that will be +6 damage on them. Yeah, you can see how. And then I decided to say, okay, they were expecting me to sacrifice the Hangover because this Hangover was gonna die. But I'm like, no, I'm not gonna give you the benefit of having this more beneficial trade, right? So you can see the opponent's tanking a bit, and I decided to just let it go. And then I get 2 counters on the Ozolith, and I get 2 counters on the... And I get 2 Topters, so that's very good. The opponent has only 2 cards left in hand, right? So my plan here is I can also probably threaten lethal with an Igmoth. My opponent kills my Walking Ballista. Make them Topters. You can tell when opponent's taking so long to make a play that you've not made the play they were expecting, right? So we didn't make the turn, like say level 1 play. My opponent Burst Lightning's my Ballista and responds, and you can see here, even if I sack Nimmoth Nexus to the Throne of Gaia, the Ballista will still die because it has 2 points of damage on it. And we don't have scale, so I decide to sack the Ballista and proliferate my Ozolith up to 6. And I have 2 Topters to block, right? That I'm feeling pretty good. The opponent has only 1 card in hand. So unless it's a Lava Dart or something, and I think if they have a Lava Dart, that was actually dead. Oh, they have a Light of the Stage. So we see what they're drawing. And we see that they have a land plus a Monastery Spear. Then it's our turn, and I decide that we'll put pressure with the Igmoth Nexus that will force their Scorch. No, not Scorch. We're 1 off here from the lethal. That will force their dude back, right? So I decide to play 1 Igmoth and keep the other back just in case to block, in case they somehow rip a Manamorphose and they go like Manamorphose, 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 Lava Dart, Lava Dart. That would be a way to lose this game. Or like only like Manamorphose, Lava Dart would be already a way to lose this game with the Topters, right? So I keep this guy back just to be able to block. Points at 7 poison anyway. And you can see how the value we accumulated in the beginning, right? Even though we lost the Ballista, even though we lost the Hangovac, even though the game was not looking so hot. The value we accumulated in the beginning meant that eventually they ran out of gas, right? Because all their spells are normally not even cantrips, it's just like burst lightnings, lava darts, bolts, right? They're cards that are not generating mana advantage or card advantage. They're just dealing a lot of damage. So eventually, we were able to transform that value we accumulated on the Ozolith and the Throne of Geth. And I said Throne of Geth is not very good. I think 2 Thrones of Geth are not very good, but 1 Throne of Geth could be pretty good in this matchup. Into having a lot of counters on the Ozolith, which gets threatened with lethal with Enigma. Now, right now, my opponent is in a bit of a pickle. I only have 1 mana up. Of course, they could have drawn, as I said, Manamorphose Lava Dart. And maybe they had drawn Manamorphose Lava Dart, we would have lost. But I mean, you kind of play around everything. And here we have a good situation. My opponent just decides to concede here. Basically, here, how you would finish this game would be to activate maybe. You can basically sacrifice one of these to proliferate, put them at 8. Attack with both Ingmoth Nexuses. They block 1, maybe. And then basically you just get you get to proliferate again, put them at 9, and kill them the next turn. That would be one way of doing it. The other way would be just to attack, let them block, this dies, and you can still just play the same game until they run out of flyers. So for sideboard, I do the same I did all the other games. I don't know if this was the first game I played against them. By them, I mean prowess. People were believing in me in chat, so I hope you believe in me too. Hand again, very good. Like, same idea, right? This hand doesn't have bolt, which is, I think, one of the premier cards in the matchup. We have scales. So it means we were not going to, like, trade 1-on-1 for a lava dart, which is, I think, the key to this matchup. Like, you don't want to trade 1-on-1 for a lava dart. Here I'm thinking, should I play the pathway or this? And I really decided to play the pathway because I'm like, okay, this way, you don't know, maybe I'll draw another red source and then I don't ever need to give them 1 life for my bolts. When they don't play a 1-drop, you must spec a Storming Entity. I think it's... But then they play Soulscar Mage here, which I found really weird. But I think they believe that Soulscar Mage is very good. And here you realize, instead of playing a 2-drop and losing it to like a Bolt, even a Hangavac, it's much more value to, since they've had a bit of a slower start, to play the Ozolith out and say, now my next creature will have more value. Of course, they can kill the Ozolith, but again, that means that the creature will survive, and we have 3 of them, right? So things are looking up here already. They attack us, they miss a land drop again, which is, they only play 18 lands, so it's something that will happen to their deck. I mean, it's the minor rarity of the games that they actually curve out. So here we are getting the Ballista down, and I still have the Bolt, normally with pink. This is, I see Mutagenic Growth, right? So there's no point in me doing that. I think I play the Ballista because I am thinking that it's the card I value the least compared to Hangavac Walker, and I can play Hangavac Walker for 3 next turn and put 2 extra counters from the Ballista. I also don't want the Hangavac Walker to be like reduced in size, stuff like this. So they untap. Yeah, I'm wondering what they will do. If they don't draw exactly a land, they cannot. So they blow a dart, so I'm like, okay. And that's what I decided to do here. I don't recall exactly what I decided to do. Oh yeah, I remember this game actually now. Yeah, I remember. So I let it go. And I'm like waiting for them to cast Mutagenic Growth, and then I will like bolt in response. They flashback back the Lava Dart, which I found crazy. So I decided to ping once the Mana Spear, thinking, okay, it's gonna be fine. Oh, sorry for the little bit of loading time. And they have this card called Assault Strike, which gives it double strike. And I'm like, whoa, man, that's a lot. So they basically went kind of all in here on us. And then I guess from there they were just hoping to draw bolts. That maybe questions a bit the player with the Ballista. Maybe I should just play the Hangavac and say, okay, if you kill this, I'll still have blockers, right? I was not expecting a play such as this one. I was expecting them to play the Dragon and attack me and pump it. And then in response to the pump, I could kill the Dragon. But apparently opponent had other plans, and they put me to 5. So yeah, here I think it's set to play both Ravager and Hangavac just to have the most amount of blockers. So that means the Social Mage will not kill us. And then here, of course, opponent doesn't have we don't know if opponent has interaction, right? So we went for it. We went for the kill. We could lose in our next turn. Plays a second Soulscar Mage. They have 3 cards left in hand. I draw Gem Razor. I decide to pump. Oh yeah, I remember now. I mutate into the Ravager. So I'm like, okay, this will be enough creature. So if you notice here, I'm like, okay, what could they have? Like a bolt, right? Like this is the most typical thing they could have is a bolt here. So I'm like, okay, what can I do in order to make sure that I win the game? So I decided, okay, I'm gonna mutate here. If they bolt in response, we can sack the Blink Moth, make this a 4/4, and even sack this guy. And then between the counters and the Ozolith and everything, we should just be fine. So take a while to think about it. They could have Vapor Snack, and that's the card that the chat is telling me. Maybe they have Vapor Snack. Well, okay, if they have Vapor Snack, we still get the Gem Razor, right? And we still put, and we are not that far behind. So opponent has Vapor Snack. They doesn't have Vapor Snack here. Maybe they're saving it. Ah, yeah, yeah. I don't remember now what happened. Sorry, too many games and I kind of mix up in my brain. So I decided to put the counters on the Gem Razor, and then here, yes, my opponent goes for the Vapor Snack. So we get snacked, and the Gem Razor goes back in the hand. Also the Ravager, right? So we don't lose anything really. And we get 4 extra counters on the Ozolith. And we have a lot of blockers now and a Bolt, so still feeling fine. We only lose to like Bolt plus Lava Dart or something like this here, or like double Bolt. Then I'm thinking basically that narrows the options, right? If my opponent has the Bolt and Lava Dart, I will lose. If my opponent has double Lava Dart, I will lose. If my opponent has Burst Lightning and Lava Dart, I lose, right? So then that narrows the actions of what to play around next turn. So sorry, it's taking a bit. So this could be not buffering. I don't know when I loaded it, but I attack with both, and I decide to not take no risk and block one of each. Yeah, just waiting to see if I want to bolt something. I think I decide to keep my bolt in hand in the end. And then here, like once again, we see a situation the same as before. You can put the Ozolith trigger on the stack and target there. Now your opponent needs to react, right? Now basically, I see that I know that they kind of have double bolt. If they have double bolt, we're dead, right? So they kind of have double bolt. So what we can do, they could of course have another Vapor Snack. So that's the only thing that's worrying me right now. Is I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna eat these filters because they allow me to live through another Vapor Snack, and something like a Lava Dart or something like that. So I sacrifice the Ravager, and that's way enough counters to make this guy the emote big enough anyway. And since my opponent didn't have Lava Dart, because we know again we would be dead. They could have Vapor Snack, but if they have Vapor Snack, we also would have been dead, right? Because they can Vapor Snack and bolt us. So here a little bit of the kind of tight play you need to kind of do in order to win this matchup, right? All right, and finally the last match I want to show you. This was against Red Green. It was against Red Green Prowess, which is like I had never really played before. And I think we're only gonna go through the first game. Again, my same plan is to trade. When they start seeing prowess creatures, I want to make them have less prowess creatures, and I try to get some value. And the value this time around will come from Animation Module, which is a very good card when your opponent doesn't have flyers. Here I decided again, same thing. I could play Ravager, make a Servo, make a Scales. I decided to play the Scales and the Ballista, and try to kill one of the monster spears, I believe, or just wait and see what my opponent does. Maybe that was a bit passive. Maybe I should just trade the Ballista aggressively, because my opponent will have something to do, right? They Manamorphose here, and I let it resolve. I'm really thinking about this decision. And in the end I decide, I don't recall what I do. I just let it resolve. Because I'm thinking actually I could just win next turn if I draw I can win next turn with the Rouser I could win if this Ballista resolves. But I decide they Lava Dart me after they play Soulscar Mage, and I decide to kill Soulscar Mage in response. So in the end it works out pretty well. I would rather kill a Soulscar Mage than a Monastery Sphere there. But of course, if we had killed the Monastery Sphere, we would be taking 3 less damage, which is something you also need to take into account. Here the game is of course very tight because the attack is for 6, and we need a land. That's for 6 points out to 10. I play Ravager. I decided to make a service turn around because I need to block basically. And yeah, we're just chilling here. We have a line to kill next turn. They have Abbot of Keep and 1 card in hand, so that, you know, can give you a bit of idea, okay, what's up. So they have the Lava Dart, that's really brutal when they have that. But I know I can actually play around it with the maybe the better play here would have been to eat my stuff before they casted anything. So I could for sure guarantee that I was going to get the... So here, before the first Lava Dart resolves, I decide to eat. Because this way, if they have a second spell, let's say they had a bolt, I could eat animation model in response. And they cannot chain the second Lava Dart, which is very important here. So eat here. And then they don't have a second Lava Dart, which I'm like, okay, fine. Here I decide that I need to block or else I probably die, right? Because my opponent at 2, there's 4 damage here. The Lava Dart may go down to 8. So if they Lava Dart me again, I go down to 9. And they will have 6 damage, so they will go down to 2. But if they have any other spell other than the Lava Dart, we die if we don't block. So I need to think, okay, I need to block here. And hope they don't have a bolt in hand. If they have a bolt, they will kill the Ravager, and then we probably will not win. So they do Lava Dart. But then I'm waiting. This Lava Dart doesn't do anything. If this Lava Dart would have done something, I would have eaten the... Oh, does it do anything? Let me just... I have now... Okay, now this Lava Dart kills the animation model. So maybe that was a bit bad. Maybe I should just eaten it before blockers and everything. But then I force them to do it before. Yeah, that was maybe a bit not the best play. Maybe the best play would have been to actually have yeah, another set. So Roger dies there, and yeah, exactly here, that was gonna say, I can draw skills and Ravager, like, if I draw another Ravager, I can win, so I decide, I'm like very lucky, and I draw it. Now you're in this situation, now we have a 3-3 Ravager, and my opponent is out of cards in hand. It has 1 card in hand, actually, but they didn't use it to kill me last turn, so I'm kind of assuming they don't have anything. And then here, of course, only card that wins me the game here is an Arban Worker. I block there because I'm like, if they have anything like a bolt or a Lava Dart, I die no matter which one I block. So might as well just block the one that has less power. And this way we play around some like some cantrip or something like that, right? We make sure that the Ravager survives. Because our only option here, eventually opponent will kill us because they will just find enough bolts to kill us. Or a bolt to kill us, basically. And here opponent does not find anything. And very worried here because they have Mishra's Bubble. But yeah, I'm like, okay, what am I gonna draw? What am I gonna draw? And really, only card that does it here is probably a Worker. Probably maybe a Ballista also did it, right? Because we could make this a 6-6, attack them for 6, put them at 10. 6 counters to the 3-3 already. Ballista. Ballista would also have been lethal. But I was like, okay, let's go. And we just win. That's, you know, again, trading, trying to play tight around the Lava Darts. Always try to one-up your opponent in the sense that, you know, you don't do what they expect you to do. And then eventually you can win the game. And the next game is just also very easy. My opponent just misses a lot of... Like, this has a Seal of Fire, but they never commit to it. They probably flood a lot, and I eventually just... you know, eventually they will tap out for a Giganta that they had on Companion. I guess they don't... They told me that they have Season Pyromancer or Pillage or anything like this, which is important. And then at this point, I just play a Ravager, wait. But basically here I'm in full control, so I'm still at 13. And when they play a Giganta, I just have lethal, right? So no need to do anything else. Anyway, that is the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you like this style of video, trying to go over the same matchup a few times to try to get some ideas for how you should approach it. But basically the idea is trading, mulling into a hand that has cards that allow you to retain value, so you can survive the onslaught and then come back. Because if you don't, like, you could see in the Yama Killer game, I survived, but I died anyway. So I didn't thrive, let's say. And then really, Lightning Bolt is great in this format. Lightning Bolt is great versus this deck, and this deck is everywhere basically. So I think the red green version is really good. Yeah. If you enjoyed this, please give me a like and subscribe if you. As a message to you. Just like the content, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.